So let's first take a vote. Okay. So just raise your hand if you think this problem is primarily improving the process. Now pick only one vote, okay? So I don't want like 3 hands going for that. So is that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8? How many of you think it's productivity improvement?
I mean,
Can we choose all of them, or it's just the main one?
Pick the main one.
oh, okay.
And I'm gonna do the math.
Okay.
How many people are there? Do I get that number or not?
Okay.
Okay. So are you guys still firm on the 8? Anybody change my mind? Huh?
He's talking about the 8. You go for, sorry, you go for processing.
Okay. So 8 is good. Productivity improvement. Right? Cycle time. Cost reduction. Cycle time. Cost reduction. You already did this one, so you want to change from this to this? I have 2 goals. So if that helps you guys, I'm kind of, and plus I've been teaching it for 20 years. So there are certain things comes whether you like it or not as a side effect of those things. Market share. Okay. So now let's talk about justification. Why do you think that? So
Thing is, this is the third party, Flawn.com. So they're really financing the auto repair. First of all.
hang on to one, right? So I'm going to ask for a spokesperson for this, right? Since we don't have this tool, we don't need it. Process improvement. So you were part of process improvement. So tell me in this description, what made you think that it is a process improvement?
This is F1 is a third party. They give money to dealer to repair the car, it's a process improvement because they ask for a system where they can reduce the time of giving loan to the dealer to repair the car.
Okay.
It usually takes long time if they go for manual process. If they can purchase system or develop software which can reduce their time of lending the loan to the dealer. So that's the main case of really dealing with dealers and customers. So to reduce their time, they appoint they really assign the third party to handle this issue.
Okay.
And make the process very effective, and so that the time frame of all the complex procedure will be reduced. That's why I must say this is the process improvement.
Okay. 7 other team members. Anything else you want to add to it?
Nothing to that.
I think it makes loan calculation payment and a repair cost very easy for
Okay.
them to have access to instead of going, coming back.
Okay.
And it mentions that there will be a system to track the financing, so that's an improvement in the process.
Who raised the hand for productivity improvement?
I did. Yeah, I did, but when I went through the exercise, I noticed if they're talking about productivity improvement, they are not really producing. If they deal with money or financing, I think you should go with process improvement.
Okay, so you want to change
Yeah.
the word to that?
Yeah.
Okay. Cycle time improvements.
Financing.
Or it comes with manufacturer.
Yeah, that's what I was reading, and then, yeah, production, manufacturing, production improvement.
Six Sigma.
Okay. Where is any cycle that talks about, it used to take this much, now it takes this much?
The whole process, it will to get get the approvals and those things to get
So you're talking about cycle time, right? My question is, do you know how much time it takes today? Is there anywhere in the problem tells you how much time it's taking today? Is there anywhere it tells you how much time it will take after they're done running the software? So how are you gonna judge whether it's a cycle time improvement or not? Okay, so you think it's because of this? Okay. Alright. So, she presents her view for cycle time. Does anybody else want to change the word based on that? Okay, I think you had a question.
That is, I'm sorry, that is, I think, just a byproduct of
Okay,
the process improvement that is happening.
okay, so you still think it is processing?
Yeah,
Okay.
but cycle time improvement is a byproduct.
Okay. Everybody read the problem, right? Who can explain me what exactly is the business problem they're trying to solve? Forget about for a moment any of this. Tell me what is the business problem. Tell me what is the business problem.
But it looks like there is not a single commercial product exists that allows trucking dealers financing for auto repairs. And these guys are coming up with a new system that ultimately reduces the loan approval time for lenders from several days to within a week. So I will stand with the process improvement.
Okay? What is the business problem they're trying to solve? Let me ask the question again.
Process.
What is the business problem? Right? Don't tell me what is the process today. What my question is, what is the business problem they're trying to
Business
solve?
problem, somebody have a business, but his business is growing, getting a lot of customers. But the thing is, the problem is that due to instead
Who
of.
has the business here?
RF loans.
Do they have a business?
So
They will find out.
Dealer has a business?
maybe it's a third party company who tries to connect dealers and dealers so they can communicate better together in a this kind of thing.
You said RF loan is a company. So
I didn't
company-
say it was coming. I just said this is the business problem. Tell me what is
The
it?
problem is reducing the time
It was customer
Recent
focused
time.
actually.
and make the process short.
Okay?
They're defining a process for
Oh,
approving
okay.
loans and for tracking the
Or
loan.
Okay.
efficient.
Can I throw an analogy here?
Sorry?
Can I throw an analogy here?
Yeah, sure.
Just for you guys to think about.
Okay.
Okay? How many of you watch TV? Or follow the news? Let me say that, follow the news.
Once in a while.
Have you ever felt it that it's the same news, but when people put it their spin,
Yeah,
it's completely different?
the same.
Do you feel that?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's come back to this. All of you read the exact same problem, right? What I'm hearing is different things, right? And what if I have to say it is that none of you are right?
I think Olga would kind of like answer
She indicated,
partial.
right,
question.
partial, but the question I have it is the business problem, right? So,
Oh, can I change my answer?
it's too late. The instructor already graded, it's too late to change that. Okay, so let's come back to the business problem, right? The point I'm trying to tell it is, it's a perennial problem of it, is whenever it's something is just written simply, people will interpret differently. So you need to actually deconstruct that thing and try to understand. That's the first skill you need as a quality assurance person, is look at the description and deconstruct and try to figure it out what exactly is the message coming out from it. Okay? So for a moment, let's talk about the business problem. Okay? So the things that happens here is centered around auto repairs, right? So let's say I as a customer or a vehicle owner has a need to repair my car for whatever issue. Right? I'll go to the dealer. If I go to the dealer and the dealer says, okay, it's gonna cost you $5,000 to fix the car. Right? Come back and think, okay, it's a $5,000, I can't afford to pay $5,000. Okay? Dealer is interested to fix it only if he gets his $5,000, right? Otherwise, why would he be interested? You, as a customer or a car owner, needs that car to be fixed. But you can't pay $5,000. Now, you can get a loan if you're buying a new car. How many of you heard about getting a loan if you go for car fixing?
I heard about that too. Fixing stuff.
Right. So this problem is centered around a things, it's a business model that he's trying to put together and says, okay, you know what? There are customers who can't afford to pay, that needs their car fixed. There are a dealer who will financially benefit if the customer is able to afford to pay them. Because all they care is from the payment. Right? So, and there's not many people who can actually go to the bank and say, hey, I need a loan to fix my car. Fine, they won't give it. So what if we figured out a model where there are lenders who can give the money based on certain criteria to the dealer and get into installment mode from the car owner. So now you can get the car fixed. Dealer makes the money, lender charges the interest, so then it makes the money. The car gets fixed, so the owner gets it done, right? So it's a win-win situation for all three of them. Right. So the business problem here is trying to figure it out, that model, and build a system that allows it. The things that you guys focused on it is the side benefits. The important thing that you missed it is the first line. Not a single product exists. Okay? Process improvement? It's valid only if I have a process. Is there a process exist based on that line? Productivity improves. Whose productivity we are talking? Do I have a product yet? Cycle time. Do I have a cycle here that I'm measuring? Cost reduction. I'm reducing cost. Market share. Right? There's a 100% market share is up for a grab because there's no single product. I'm getting into the new market, I'm trying to grab that share. Make sense? He presented a business model. The first thing he told him, there's nobody in that market today. And that's why I'm getting into this business model. And here is my business model. That's what the business problem is. Questions? So the first skill as a QA, as I mentioned, right? You need to do it is analyze. Analyze the problem to understand what is the underlying things that they're trying to do. Just think about it. Right? As a QA, you need to know what problem they're trying to solve. So when you test and look at the system, you can tell it, is it helping me with solving that problem or not? If not, you should raise the question, right? This is the time, nothing is built. You want to challenge it and say, hey, what are you trying to build? Do I understand what you're trying to build? If not, you should be asking the questions. Help him to define more clearly. One of the important things that I mentioned in the Agile, right? And that's why Agile is getting more and more popular. It's not because it's delivering it every 2 weeks. but it's also important is it's working in a collaborative way. So it allows both a developer and a product owner to facilitate the conversation so that any description that anybody puts it is better understood exactly what it means. And this is a quite common problem, right? It's even if I read something and you read something, Herschel reads something, right? We all gonna, unless we have the right context, we all gonna interpret it completely different way. Okay? So, one of the skills that I want all of you to have it is that ask the questions to understand the context. So that you can drill it down and make sure you are in the same understanding as the person trying to portray that description. Okay? It's very important for you to understand this because this is the system we're going to use it throughout the course for all of our exercises. We're going to start getting it more and more drilled. So what we just went through it is the first phase, planning. While as a quality assurance, you typically don't get engaged when the business is trying to it's come up with a problem that they want to solve it. It's important for you to understand the context after the decision is made, is why they're trying to build it so that you can put everything else in the reference. Okay? So, in the cycle, in the first phase, while you don't get engaged, you want to understand what is complex. I want to ask some more questions. Okay. So let's quickly talk about this thing, right? Let's try to answer a couple of more questions. One is, who's the owner of this system that you're trying to run? And who are the users? Let's answer those two questions. Who is the owner and who is the user? Okay. So the person who is trying to build the system is rflow.com, right? Is he a dealer?
No.
Is he a lender?
He's a lender.
He's a lender.
He's in the finance.
No, he's not.
I mean, he's not
Let's
yet.
talk about it. Let's step back one. Let's pull back one. Who all are the players in this system that's being talked about? Let's talk about it. Who all are the players? It'll be
Lender, dealer, and customer. Dealer.
Anybody else?
Maybe the mechanic just can fix the car.
Are they a player or they are the dealer?
Agents.
No, that's it.
Is that the only players?
Agents.
Agents. This one?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the independent contract.
Okay. Okay. So we got 6. Anything else we missed? Right? That's customer, right? I'm assuming that's what you meant by customer. Okay. Any additional?
Lender? Lender. Ah, okay.
So we have 6 people, right? Who are the players here, or 6 roles that we added. Out of all those, who is gonna own the system?
As well?
So this is the guy who's paying, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Who all are using the system?
Dealer and customer.
Dealer and lender.
Okay, let's first list it out, everything that everybody said, right? Who's it? I heard dealer and lender, right?
Dealer, lender, and customers.
Okay. Anybody else uses it?
Customer and dealer.
The agents.
Customer.
Agents?
So RF loan is not a
No,
lender?
no.
No,
Agents is.
RF loan is not a lender?
You have the description.
no,
I'm just saying is, I'm asking you a question
Yeah,
based on
RF loan
description.
is a lender, okay?
no,
No.
no.
They're like middlemen.
There is like broad lender, like,
Okay, but I mean, explain your view why our phone is not a
Didn't
lender.
mention his bank.
So Airflow is the company that, oh, I'm sorry. It says they
It's
will be
didn't mention-
financing or doing
it's-
something.
Yeah, it didn't mention any bank or anything.
Right, but again, they say lender later on, so that is,
in the business, our firm is like a broker that bring lender and customer together.
Bingo. You understand?
Yeah, the
Yeah,
very
he's,
first
a-
one.
it makes sense, you know,
Okay.
it quite makes sense.
Everybody understand?
Yeah, quite makes sense.
Okay. Anybody else a user of the system?
No. So what's the agent?
So, Iqbal has a question, who wants to answer? What is an agent?
agents are like, sales guys
Employees.
who sign up the
Working.
dealers for the product. For the system that everyone is building.
The agents will be.
Responsibility.
Does that make sense what she
Yeah,
said?
yeah.
Okay.
Independent contractor. Okay.
They sign up the sales guys to go pitch in for the product with the dealer.
Any questions about any of the users? Let's take it one by one. So we identified that out of the 6 players, 4 of them will use the system. Right? Let's talk about it. Can anybody tell me what thing in the description tells me the lender is user of the system?
They get an email notification saying that there is a new credit application and they log into the system and review the application.
Where, this one?
G.
F and G.
Okay. Okay. So that's clear cut, right? That's the system, users. Okay. Dealer.
Dealer will submit application.
Okay. Customer, car owner.
He doesn't directly deal with the system, but he's,
What was my question?
Users. Customer.
he's not using the system.
Customer.
Right. Marshall, you had an additional comment?
I was just asking, raise hands if you wanna answer, basically, because I think some of the folks are not getting from the back, so.
Customer is not using.
Everybody agrees?
Yes.
Agents.
There
Is the agent
loan
user?
application. They review the loan applications.
No, they are responsible for
use it.
signing that.
Oh, no, sorry, I thought dealers. Sorry.
So responsible for sign up, dealers.
They're responsible for signing this.
Looks like the independent contractors.
Okay, does it say anywhere, when they sign up, what does that mean?
He will.
What is your interpretation?
Because they have to explain how it works to the dealers. Like, open the system up and tell them what goes on.
But I did that without even writing a system to with all of you guys, right?
No.
Question, is agent a user of the system or not?
Yes.
They don't.
Where does it says that they're?
Agent will, go, this one down.
They recruit the dealer shop who offer the service,
Agent will sign.
Agents are not.
who are participating in
Maybe they put information in the system.
It doesn't use it.
I don't
Signing
think they do.
So how many things agents as a user of the system are raising? Because it's justifying to me, right, that they are, but nobody wants to raise their hand.
So agent will be responsible
That's
for
what it
signing
says.
the
I
dealer
use
and
it.
shop.
I
Yeah, all
think
the
they use.
time.
Raise your hand. Okay. So, the rest of the class thinks they won't be user, right?
Like, I'm not sure, are they gonna use the system or they're gonna use, I'm not sure only.
Precise. So, Chip, you put it in there, right? So, this information is not sufficient for you to make a decision whether the agent is a user of the system or not. Right?
Ask questions.
There is indirect indication that they may or may not use it, but there is no clarity around it. Okay? So what this tells me is when you read at it, right, you need to figure it out. Did you have enough information to make a decision, yes or a no for a question that you were trying to ask? Right? We were clearly able to articulate why vendor and dealer should be using this system, because it says that. We clearly identified customer is not the user. Agents, we don't know, right? They may or may not. That means I need an additional information. So part of the things that you need to start thinking about it is when you look at it, a requirement or a problem, is do you have enough information to come to the conclusion that's going to allow you to validate a feature in the system? Right? So here the simple question I asked it is agent a user of the system or not? You do not have enough information to conclude that. So whenever you're validating the systems, you can't say for the guarantee that is the agent a user in the system or not, should you validate that that agent can log into the system. Okay. So two things that we looked at it when we looked at the problem, right? One is making sure it's a consistent understanding so you can break it down, right? One of the problem we're going to solve it. And second it is when you try to ask it, does it have sufficient information for you to come to the conclusion of that? If not, then how can you validate or test it whether that product has that feature or not? So that's something that we're going to talk more as we start talking about the requirements. Okay. So let's get back to this thing. So this thing is something that you want interactive, but I wanted to include it so that you understand the context of it. So the typical in any software development, the way it happens is you have a business problem, then you go through a specific process to figure it out, whether it is worthwhile for you to build a system to support that business problem, right? So, a lot of times, the companies have so many ideas about doing certain things, but they have a limited capital, limited money, right? So they always have a process in place to identify where should I invest my money, right? Let's say if I have $100 and I have a demand which talks about $300 worth of investment, where am I going to invest that $100? Right? So they have, at the corporate level, they define the criteria and says, okay, I'm going to invest it into this project only if it gives me 20% more return on my investment, and it recovers all the money that I invested within 6 months or 12 months time frame, right? And it meets my strategic objective, and here are the 5 strategic objectives that I have. That kind of position, right? So typically, as soon as you put together a business problem and an idea to build a product around it or software for it, right? You start doing the project definition, just like what we just started doing it in the beginning, right? The next thing, if you are the owner, right, the people ask you is, okay, it's a great idea, how much is it going to cost? Okay, so you put together a rough estimate of, okay, in order to build that thing, it's going to take me $1 million. And I'm projecting it based on this many resources, it's going to take me 6 months to build it, or 8 months to build it. Okay. So that you define estimate, cost estimate. Then comes in is you define the benefits. You talk about, fine, if I spend that $1 million that you're talking about, what is the benefits I'm going to give it? Right? So there is multiple levels of benefits, right? One is a financial benefit. Another one is customer retention. Another one is meeting the regulatory objectives, right? Because if I'm like it's doing a telecom and it's a 911 system I'm building it, well, that's a requirement by government that if somebody calls a 911, you need to be able to identify within few seconds where the customer is coming from, where the call is originating, who called it, on whose name it's registered, where is the nearest cop from that location. The whole 9 yard needs to show up within a fraction of seconds, right? And if I don't do it, I won't be able to get a license to operate as a telecom operator in that area, right? So that could very well be a benefit, right? So you identify what the benefit is for the problem. Then you identify what is the realization time. So how long it's going to take me to build that system. Okay. Once you have all that sets of information, you present to what is a lot of company will have it is a business and IT governance team. In a small company, whoever the owner is the one who is making the decision, right? But in a big corporation, you have a structure, right? It says that, okay, there are representatives going to be from the business side, and there are a few folks coming from IT executive team. And they sit together and they have this review board, right? So every idea that people are pitching it goes through them, and they just say yes, no, decision, right? So, and they have certain sets of conditions that I was talking about, right? It needs to meet it in 12 months period, it needs to have at least 20% benefit, it needs to be this and this strategic objective, it needs to meet it, type of things, right? So based on those criteria, they make a decision based on your request that you're putting together, is that you have the right set of criteria to go through a funding process. If the answer is yes, then you go and say, okay, good, we'll allocate the money for you, you just go ahead and do that. Okay? Some cases they said, yeah, it's a great idea, but we don't think it's gonna fly. We don't think the benefits and everything that you're putting together, it's realistic. It's not gonna happen. And they just reject the project outright. And that's the end of the project. Or they may come back and say, you know what, it's a nice concept, but the numbers that you present don't make sense. I want you to think of this, this, and this, and then go back and do all those benefit estimate, cost estimate, and come back to the board and tell us, what do you think? Right, so they may ask you for that information. Let's talk a specific example. Okay. Are you guys familiar with the Super Bowl football? Just the timeline type of thing, right? So it's an event that happens every year on the first Sunday of February. Right? It's an event which a lot of commercial companies look at it as an opportunity to advertise it. And they run the campaign for it. Okay. So all those campaigns cost the money, right? It needs to be run as a project. Whether it's you're building a system to promote it, or whether you're building out a new product to release at that time. So all those things, campaign as it comes in, it's if you're going through a project approval process for getting the money to launch those campaigns, they always talk about it. Let's say if I want to release a new product, and I want to advertise it on that, say, hey, I want to gain at this so-and-so market share, right? The first question comes in is, great idea, right? It's first week of September. Come up with an idea. So it's okay. How much it's going to cost? How long it's going to be built? And what benefits? Right? So you, let's say you pitch an idea and say, hey, it's going to cost us $500,000. Right? But it'll return into the sale increase of $10 million. Right? And then it's going to take me 8 months to implement. And I want to launch it at the Super Bowl as an ad to get that $10 million benefit. Right? The first thing they're going to look at it and say, okay, it's the first week of September. You want 8 months. It's going to go to April for you to release it. Well, Super Bowl happens in the first week of February. You don't have anything. I'm not going to even waste my time to do that. Or, let me say, yeah, it's a nice idea. What if I say that, yeah, we want you to short down the time into 4 months. Tell me how much cost it's going to cost. Right? And based on that, tell me how much benefits you still think it can give. Right? This is, oh, if I need to do this in 4 months, I can do this, this, and this thing. And I need to put more people, so my cost is going to increase. Right, so let's say it's going to take me $750,000 to implement that instead of $500,000 originally. Let's do it. And based on the restriction of everything that I wanted to do, I can't do it. So my benefit is only like now $4 million. Right? We come back with that data and they say, okay, now it makes sense. I can meet the timeline, I can spend the money, and I can still make the money. Go do that. Right? So that's kind of the process that goes through it. As a QA, you will probably never get involved in that process, but you need to understand it, how those things happen as part of the software. Right? So a lot of times you ask the question, that's a great idea. Why did they do it? Right? The point is, at the end of the day, everything boils down to money and one of those components. If it's not there, you don't have a business. Now, let's talk about it. So we move it from the first phase of planning. Right? As soon as you get the money, you move to the next phase, right? And says, okay, the next phase is doing an analysis. Now it's time to figure it out. In order to meet this particular problem that we're going to do it, So what is the specifics of the systems that needs to be built, right? They are known as the requirements, right? It's the features of the systems that is going to be built to fulfill the purpose. Most important thing here when you try to collect the requirements is not to try to come up with the solutions. Focus on what feature or functionality the business is wanting, or customer needs. Okay. That's the most important aspect here. So when you look into the requirements document, there are going to be two different types of it. Now, for our purpose for the rest of the course, when we talk about it, right? Just because we're trying to get you a good understanding of the overall process, you're going to see a lot more artifacts that are more commonly used in waterfall and iterative process than an agile. Because agile process, it's more effective when you're trying to do only one small piece at a time. We're trying to explain you the whole thing and how everything fits in together. So a lot of things that we talk about, if you take it into small pieces, they'll still be applicable to a job, right? So when somebody talks about requirements document, right, the thing that I was talking about, collaborating, sitting with the user, it says exactly what do you want, scribbling it down, right? So it's not just putting everything into one big document, but when you reduce that scope to one iteration, it's still the same process that you do it to collect things, okay? So there are two different types of requirements document you're going to see here, or requirements detail you're going to see it. One is purely requirements definition document, right, which is written it in the customer's language so that the customer can understand. Okay. So, for example, going back to the brick and mortar book problem that we were talking about, bookstore problem, right? If I'm trying to put a requirements, right, we just say, hey, one of the requirement is customers should be able to search on our product. Okay? Using either information, whether it's an audiovisual material or a print material. That's a simple requirement. It's written it from the customer's point of view, right? Because customer doesn't need to know what is in the system, right? Or I could write the exact same thing for the people who are building the system and says, you should be able to search for a book, provide 100 characters as the string to search it, and allow them to ensure that I can search it in this system, there, and this locations. Okay. What it does